we're going to go back to old school WWF. Remember when they used to pit two wrestlers against one another? And I want you to go ahead and tell me which one of these cases do you think is the strongest and which one do you think is the weakest? We talked about the Harpo, Tyler Robinson, of course, Candace versus everybody. Like, which one do you think is the weakest and which one do you think is the strongest in your opinion?
Now, considering that these are 3 different jurisdictions, you got Delaware, you got Tennessee, you got Utah, one's a criminal. I mean, look, I think that Candace will lose her Brian Harpole case.
Okay.
I think the amount of statements that she has said, the volume of it, in combination with the plaintiff's ability, and it's hard to prove knowledge of falsity. I think that you might be thinking, well, Rice, with as much evidence as there is, what about the Tyler Robinson case? And my response to that is, I can't prejudge without knowing the evidence. And I mean, it's a criminal case. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the highest standard.
No, I agree.
You know, and while I think that the defense has their work cut out for them, remember, the defense doesn't have the burden. It's the plaintiff. They just have to poke holes sufficiently. So I think that Candace's case, I think Brian Harpole's case against Candace Owens for defamation is likely to be the one that has the most probability of success.
Okay. And then Tyler Robinson, you think is second? Or McCrone?
I would say McCrone next. Again, because they're both civil cases. That's another reason why.
There you go. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And remember, Brian Harpole, I think, is a private figure. So I think he only has to prove negligence. I don't think he has to prove knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. I think they can anyway. So I'm going in order of like burden here.
No, I got you. Totally got you.
Yeah.
Harpole, McCrone's, Tyler Robinson.
Bingo.
I can dig that. I can work with that.
Yep.
Now, man, you know what, Reese, I don't like when I bring you on. I don't know if it's your beard. I don't know if it's your swag, your aura, but all these great questions start coming in. And I'm like trying to round these bases, man. And two great questions came in. Can the McCrones file? Let me start again. Can the McCrones file a separate lawsuit against Candace alleging that they were behind an assassination plot against her? I know you heard this one, right? Where she said the French put out an assassination hit on her late last year. Can they sue her for that?
They can certainly amend their complaint for any new statements that they believe are defamatory. When I would argue that this one is.
This one's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so they can absolutely amend, and perhaps they should.
I love it. Okay, now, because you are a defamation guy, have you ever run into defamation on this here platform, the YouTube platform? And because I got a great question from Chriselle. She says this: how is Candace Owens able to ridicule and be racist towards Jews and not get censored on YouTube? How can she defame others too on YouTube and get away with it? Thank you so much for the 5, Chriselle. What do you think about that? Do you have any opinions on that? How is she able to move on YouTube and other social platforms like she does?
So let me say this. Content creators have significant leeway to publish statements and opinions and hate on all groups. It's part of the fabric of being American, whether people like it or not. What that means is you can say racist things. You can say hateful things. You can say prejudicial things. You can spew nonsense. You can do it, unfortunately or fortunately. That's part of what the First Amendment protects. What you can't do is spread false statements of fact. That's where we draw the line. That's where defamation.
Can you help me with that then? Okay, help me with the false statement of fact. I understand, but to Chriselle's point, there's things that I've had issue with on this here platform that other content creators have not had issue on, and they've done the exact same thing. So, like, can you help us with that? Like, I understand when you say racist, I totally get that part. But what is a false statement of fact? And you know, don't get me demonetized. But what is a false statement of fact, as you understand it?
Yeah. So the standard, you asked a great question. And by the way, everyone watching should know this. Especially anyone who's a content creator, pay attention. the standard is if you make a statement that is capable of being proven true or false, that is a statement of fact. So, okay, so if I'll give you an example that's just not in the defamation world. If I say it is 98 degrees outside, you can go and you can take a thermometer and you can measure if it's 98 or close enough. The gist of it. Is it 99? Is it 100? Okay. If I said it is hailing outside and it's a snowstorm, common sense, any reasonable person would say that's a lie. It's absolutely not. You follow?
Facts.
That is a statement of fact because we can measure it. We can determine. If you publish a false statement of fact, now you have fallen into the territory of defamation. You'd still need to prove all the elements of defamation, that it was about a particular person, that it caused harm, right? The standard of fault, negligence, or reckless disregard. You have to prove those things. But a false statement of fact is exactly that. It's a statement that is not opinion. Opinions are not statements of fact. You are a piece of shit. You are an asshole. Those you can blur those out when you do snippets later. You are a moron. These are all opinions. You can't really prove or disprove those statements. It's colorful,
Fair.
Right? It's triggering.
Fair.
Calling somebody a Nazi is actually, some jurisdictions have said that that's defamatory. So sometimes it's blurry. But I'm giving you a flavor for what's opinion. Opinion is something you can't really disprove. It's a qualified statement. You're asking me, like this whole episode so far, we're talking about likelihoods of prevailing, weaknesses. That's my legal opinion. I can't be sued for that. If I say, in my opinion, Candace Owens' lawyers are going to lose. They have an uphill battle, and they're making the biggest mistake of their career by defending her. That's my legal opinion.
That's fair.
It's based on disclosed facts. So that's the standard. Now, you asked a question, the person watching asked a question about censorship on YouTube. And let me just say this. I don't think YouTube participates with a even brush while they're painting.
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
I think there are certain creators that are favored because let's face it. Jay, you don't have 5 million, 6 million, 7 million subscribers.
No.
So the incentive to demonetize you or ban you is much higher than somebody who is a large creator because you're raking in the dough for the platform. So I don't agree that, I'll say it this way. I do think the platform, YouTube's not the only one, but I do think platforms have a bias, particularly YouTube though, because their monetization strategy is different than Instagram and TikTok and other platforms. So they have an incentive not to censor you if you are a big platform. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And back to the statement of opinion being, I don't like Formula One racing. It's not for me. That's just my opinion. I don't really like it. But if I say that Ray stole that 7-foot replica car behind him, that could be proven false, and that would be a false statement of fact. Am I right?
That's exactly right. Look, you are allowed. You are allowed to. And look, as a First Amendment lawyer, I would argue. I have to argue, Jay, that everybody has a right to an opinion. Now, not everybody's opinion is worth something. And I still think the cost of a microphone should be $1 million, by the way. I still think that, personally. Okay? Because there's just some trash. Like, so much content is trash on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So much of it is scammy. And so much of it is, I mean, the online coaching world, we haven't even talked about that. Could be next episode for us. But there's so many ways in which I could tell you that people who have a platform shouldn't have a platform. But that's my opinion.
Right.
Fortunately or unfortunately, the First Amendment protects your right to have an opinion on very, very controversial and politically charged issues. Candace Owens gets that right. Joe Rogan gets that right. Tucker Carlson gets that right. The list goes on.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.